One. What's good, guys? Welcome to episode 7 of Outside the Sticks. Give me 1 second. I have the completely wrong thing on my screen right now. All right, there we go. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, welcome to Outside the Sticks, episode 7. Tonight with me, I have, of course, Yay Not Gaming and Demon JT. I mean, two guys that like I said, I already see the chat. I mean, I already see all the people coming into the stream. I know they're on Demon time. They're here for they're here for JT, man, because I know JT's a very special guest. And first of all, I want to start out with saying, JT, how are you doing, man? What are you up to?
I'm cool. I just been out in LA cooling, trying to figure out what's next. And doing all that time, I was like, I need to make the league one more time to for at least another year or two to just because I miss it. When you lose something, you see if it's something that you want back or if you don't, and just not being in the league and watching it, I miss it. I want to join it back. So it's I had to lock in and get my reset because it was a real bad year for me. Probably my worst year in 5 years, on and off the fucking game. So I'm just all right, reel back in.
Sorry, guys. All right, Yay, I'm going to ask you what you've been up to because for some reason my fire alarm's going off. So, Yay, please tell me what you're up to. Talk about these lists that you've been going. I can't make this up, bro. This just started happening. I'm going to go take care of this. But, Yay, please let everybody know. First of all, let's talk about your list real quick.
Boy, if you don't mute that shit.
Hey, what I've been up to, one championship show, bro. You're funny, bro. And then JT, the setup you got is dope. Just a little more lighting, that should be fire. Can't wait to see what you got going with that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I ain't even done yet.
Yeah, I'm about to say that the area looks dope. But with the list, it's just compiling a bunch of players who are looking to play in the leagues and tournaments. Just so I got this mad scientist thing going on to where I want to create a scouting algorithm or just make it easier for coaches and people in UPA or these big leagues to scout players who are being unrecognized along with the players that we know and love and that have been showing that they are the top players in the pro-am scene all at the same times. So that's just what I got cooking up right now. Champion.
Okay.
You good?
Yes, I am good. Sorry, guys. I don't know what was going on. I don't know right now because my fire alarms keep going off. I don't know what's going on.
Shit show.
Of course, as soon as I start the broadcast. But, yeah, obviously you've been getting roasted on the timeline about all your lists. We've clearly, you clearly said that your lists are not in order. But what is the purpose, Yay, of dropping lists right before 2K21? Because this is basically the end of 2K21. What's the point of dropping these lists right before 2K22 comes out?
A couple of reasons why. One, like I was saying before, you're messing with the fire alarm. Just compiling who's going to play what position, right out the gate. That way, this is to make things get things a little more streamlined in terms of being able to keep up with people on the scouting inside. Because it's tough to really see who's really hooping when it's not the top people we see all the time, the big streamers with the big numbers on Twitch or that's doing a lot of the content on Twitter. So I'm gonna dig a little deeper once I get all these names compiled, and then once I update the list and then start going into tier lists and start working with some of the guys lower on the totem pole in terms of talent and exposure. And just trying to give advice to those guys or just let them know this is what these guys are doing to get in this position. And like I said, it's all in mad scientist mode right now. Everything isn't put together, but that's where I'm starting. Just getting the names put together.
Hey, man. I mean, I think it's a great piece of content right before 2K22 is going to come out. Kind of helps some people maybe get their names out there. I don't know. But it also, I think it's driving some people, motivating some people. Some people are obviously never happy about lists. Does not matter. You could drop the perfect list and people are still going to hate on it. But anyway, let's move on to the first topic of the night. And that's the playoffs recap. So,
all right, Chep, hold on. Before we do any of that, let's address your tweet the other day that you didn't leave up. That's what we got to address first and foremost.
Okay. That's what you were talking about. You said you woke up and saw you was getting trolled.
Oh yeah, I woke up to see some real silly shit. So the tweet said, by the time I woke up, it was gone. So mistake number one, whatever you post, stand 10 toes. Don't ever take the whole route. You post something, leave it. Don't erase shit in this community. That's what too many dudes in this little 2K shit do. They post something, erase it. Nah, stand on it. But my question is, how did it start with the new Dini pick? Explain that.
So I'll explain exactly what happened. So basically, with that team, the way it started was that the fact that they made that trade to get that pick. Yes, you can say that it technically started with Jack. Yes. But Nudini was a huge pick. And the fact that they were able to get that high second round to grab Nudini, because if you understand how many teams were about to draft Nudini there, because I know personally all the teams that were supposed to draft Nudini right there. And the fact that they were able to get him right there was huge for that team. There's a reason why Nudini is one of the winningest players. And he's a big part of the Wizards on why they've won the championship last year. If anyone sits here and says that this Wizards team would have been the same team this year without Nudini, then you're wrong, because it obviously showed as soon as Nudini went back to that power forward position, the Wizards got way better this year. And the thing is, if Nudini wouldn't have been on that roster ever, I don't think we would have ever called this team a championship team. Because yes, as much as I love Jack, as much as I love Dave Fry, and as much as I love Justin as well, I think Nudini is the heart and soul, and he's obviously proven to be on the Sixers, who were a finals team. He's been on the Wizards, that is a finals team. I just think that it's Nudini that's been a big part of that. So when I mean, like, I think that's where it started. It truly is where it started. It wasn't about the fact that, oh, they traded JT away and, all that stuff. That's not what it's about. It's about the fact that that's the pick that they were able to get Nudini with, which is huge for their franchise. And it obviously showed this year how big Nudini was for him when he went to power forward. It's huge. So, like, the thing is, the misconception of the idea that I'm out here trying to, like, bring you down when I'm literally having you on my freaking show the following Monday, how does that make sense?
Why did you take it down then? If that was the case.
So the only reason I brought it down is because it continued that it was getting this conception that, oh yeah, you're just, you're trying to clown JT or you're trying to be corny. After a while, if people are going to keep conceiving of that as that, then I guess that I put it in the wrong context. So I'm not going to let it sit out there and keep making it look like that basically, oh, trading JT is why this organization started winning. No, that is not the reason. And the fact that that's what people kept perceiving it as, that's why I brought it down, because I was like, okay, if that's what people are going to perceive it as, I'm not going to keep it up, because that's not what I want. That's not the message I'm trying to send. So that's the exact reason why I put it out there. But that's the reason why I deleted it.
But the point being, you went all the way back to my specific trade. You could have simply put drafting Nudini after Awkward, after Jack. That's when it started. You could have specifically tweeted that. But you went all the way back and found my specific trade.
I think it's also
when it sounds like you're dogging me.
Okay,
when that's not really
okay, and that's fair, and I understand that. I think the reason is because, so for me, I have all the screenshots of all the old trades, and basically when I was going through screenshots, I found that screenshot and I literally posted it. I was not intending for it to be about you, JT. I was intending for it to be more about Nudini, but you are right, and I am wrong. I should have posted instead that it started with Nudini there. But it also, like I said, it was the trade to get Nudini is what I was trying to clarify. It wasn't that you were getting traded. It's the trade itself to get Nudini. Because if that trade doesn't happen, Nudini's not on that roster. It's bottom line.
I agree. Point being, though, I also just disagreed on that, like, he's that key piece. It wasn't that. It was a 7-9 team getting the number one pick. And then on top of that, with the 30th pick, they take the lock that we were supposed to take the year before. Mm-hmm. And then you're calling Nudini this magical piece when the first two seasons he didn't get protected. And then season 2, they blamed him because Bear fucked on him. It's just once he got in that different situation, he looked how he looked. But didn't nobody expect Nudini to play how the fuck he's playing on the Wizards because of what he was doing on Philly. So when you say, like, that's when it started, it's not when it started. He went to a new system, went to a new position, had a new role, had a new leader, new coach, knew all of that. That's when he looked good.
Respectfully, JT, hey, Dini was playing solid for the Sixers, though.
I never said he wasn't, but let's compare seasons 1 and 2 to 3 and 4. It's fucking astronomical.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I do agree that there are some players in this league, like when they go to certain teams, they are just better. And Nudini, yes, like Nudini was playing well on the Sixers. There's a reason why he's one of the winningest players and one of the players to make the most money in the 2K League ever. But, also, he did like the Wizard system fits him a lot better. I think that the combination of Dave Fry and him is also very good. I think that him and Dave Fry know how to bounce off each other very well and work together instead of like going at each other's throats. So I think that that combination of those two and those personalities also fit very well. So I do agree with you. So like I said, the way I put it, I should have put it in a better way. I should have been more specific, and that end, I'm wrong. But you are right. I mean, you are right about the fact that there are a lot more factors to why the Wizards were really good. But that's one of the things I felt was really crucial to the Wizards, in my opinion. But again, that's my opinion. Everyone has their own opinions about things. But anyway, is there anything else you guys want to say about this? Like I said, I know that we had to air that out. That's fine. But
that was cool. I just kept my word. I keep my word.
Hey.
That's what I do. I told Twitter I'm gonna address it. I kept my word. That's what I do.
Hey.
Champ, you should have dropped him. You should have dropped him right there. You should have said, "Man, it did start with you, JT." I want to see what that boy JT would have went.
I can also tell you where it started. My downfall went runner up for MVP getting banned a month in the fucking offseason, but we ain't gonna speak on that either.
Yeah, that's also true.
Ooh.
Jeez.
All right. All right. So anyway, let's go right into the playoffs. Okay, let's talk about this because obviously this is the biggest. This is one of the big topics. Obviously, that happened last weekend. We had the NBA2K League playoffs. We finally got back in person. First of all, actually, JT, let me ask you this because this is something that a lot of people say doesn't matter. Is there a huge difference between playing in person and playing virtually? I don't even know why I'm asking this question, but I saw people saying that, the stage is not going to be that much different for some people. Is playing on the stage a lot different compared to playing in a virtual world of the 2K League? Because you've played both.
It's a lot different. One, when you remote, the only person who you talking to is your team. You don't hear but on stage, you make a mistake, it's magnified times 10. Throw it scary, be baited, shoot something stupid, be having a really bad game. Teams is targeting you, teams is yelling at you. On top of that, your team is getting rattled too because they got to hear it. Like on stage, it's way different. Remote, it's where it's safe. You know what I'm saying? It's where all the punks is safe at. But when you on stage, you a punk, it's going to show. When you start shitting yourself because everybody yelling, it's going to show. But on remote, you just playing. You don't have to worry about nothing but your team, who might not even be a talky team. But on stage, you got certain teams who talk a lot. You got certain teams who don't. But stage is always worse. It's always harder. It's always tougher because nobody wants to be yelled at. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care how much of a goon you claim to be. If you playing bad, last thing you want to hear is 5 dudes talking shit your way, heavy as hell. Last thing you want.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you got to say on that? Obviously, I know you only got to play on the stage. You never got that virtual experience. You didn't get both experiences. But, I mean, I'm sure, playing – I mean, it's kind of like playing retail and then showing up to the 2K League and, you're a different person, right? So, like, what's your opinion about being on – like, the difference between being on stage and being in the virtual world of the 2K League?
Think about being on stage. It forces you to be locked in. Like, when you're playing scrims and stuff, you can kind of, like, yeah, like JT was saying, like it's very different because you're just talking to your teammates and it's very chill in there. You're not really hearing like the crowd noise. You're not hearing what other players are saying. You can assume what they're saying, but all you really have is your teammates. And when you get on the stage, totally different feel. It's a lot colder for one, and then you have everybody talking at you. And for me, I played bad for most of the season, so came playoff times, people were talking up and screaming at me before the game started. So like I got the worst of it than anybody, and then JT was one of them. So I was like, so when you're on the stage, you're just really forced to be locked. You can't doze, like you can't keep your mind off on anything else. Like you're locked into the game. You're making sure you do everything right because you're going to hear it from your teammates and the other team.
So he didn't. Hang on. What is the question from Cavs Legion? I'm actually curious.
Question from Cavs Legion, because I said that the start of my downfall was Shump getting banned, and I didn't speak on nothing else. He asked, so he didn't deserve to get banned. I never spoke on that. But yeah, like what he did was wrong. It was fucked up. It was way over the line. But again, should he still be out the league? Probably not. But I mean, that's just how the league worked. But again. That 1 year, he deserved it for what happened. I mean, I still didn't hear it personally from what he said. Like it was something I was told.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
okay, but
get that clear.
Okay, that's fine. Anyway, let's go obviously into these playoffs. Let me ask you guys. You guys obviously, I think everyone kind of got a chance to watch, parts of the 2K League playoffs if you didn't watch the whole thing, But like from your aspect or your view, who do you think performed the best? And obviously, yes, you could say one of the finals teams, but outside of the two teams that are in the finals, what players stuck out to you that just like you felt like was just a bigger presence on the stage compared to what they were on like the virtual platformer thing? So like, again, you have players that are talking more trash or just more energetic or playing out of body, like they're playing better on the stage than they were, virtually. So is there anybody out there outside of like the two finals teams that you felt like really just played out of their body? And I'll start with you, Ye, if you have anybody in mind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had to give it to Hezzy for one, and then even Antoine stepped up a lot in their run to the Final Four because Hezzy was one of those guys that we kind of slept on all season, like him going from lock and being a center. We're like, okay, like he's looking pretty good for center, but we weren't mentioning him amongst like, the best. And then he got on the stage and going against some of the best guys, and he wasn't afraid. He didn't back down for shit. He was like getting boards. He was going straight up with it. He wasn't looking to pass. He was mashing. And he looked really good. And I was like, that's why I was trolling a little bit on the timeline, said he was Walnut Jr. And there's a few people got upset by it, but I was just having fun. But he looked really good on the stage, so I got to give it the guns if anybody.
And what about you, JT? Who stuck out to you that obviously what isn't on the Jazz or Wizards that kind of played better in this tournament in person?
Nope. I feel like it's only one answer, and that's legit. Like I feel like he's better than Dante. He always has been, but he came in short notice, didn't know he was playing, wasn't really playing lock, and he showed out. He getting steals, he dropping heads with blinders threes, like he was doing it all. He was huge for him. Like it wasn't really on him that they got flooded by the Wizards, but in that round before, like he came in and dropped his. Like they didn't put Dante back in for a good reason. He came back in and he had his, like they said in the chat, he had his coming out part. He showed why he was on the Raptors. He showed why he deserved to be back in the league. He showed it. He did his shit.
Well, actually, talking about the Nets, because I kind of want to ask this. So I'm sure you guys saw the situation with the Nets between Nets and Sixers at the end. It was a little controversial. There was, where it's going back and forth. Dante was actually handed out a suspension. I've kind of heard some rumors about what was being said. I don't have the exact context on it, but what are your guys' thoughts on like that whole situation with those teams going back and forth? Do you feel like, is that just like the natural instincts of just being so so you're basically we've been locked up for, like 2 years basically almost and just not been in person. Is that just emotions kind of just coming out on the stage, or is it more than that? Because it looked like, we saw, obviously like visuals of Abe Brooks getting mad. We saw, obviously Jeff Terrell yelling over, and then, you saw some of the Nets players just kind of being cocky because they just won the series. What was kind of your guys' thoughts on that whole situation when that went down? I'll start with you, JT, on this one.
All right, so I could really say, well, what was said? Mm-hmm. Drake, the game was over. He said, "You still fat." So what followed that was, I can't say the F word because
yeah. Nope, I understand. I
F word ass bitch. But I'm gonna really break it down to on stage. Sometimes when you on stage, it's certain people who could talk to you, and there's certain people who can't. Now Drake was wrong. He was called him fat. He is fat, but that was wrong. Y'all know me. I don't give a shit. What the fuck? He is fat. But to take it all the way there, you better be ready to throw them bitches. And the only reason you not is because people is holding you back. But it's you saying that, I hope you throwing them. But he said he didn't say it. That's what he said. He said he didn't say. He said pack your bags, man. I don't know how pack your bags sounds like, maggot. You know what I'm saying? I don't that don't coincide to me. But if that's what happened, hey, Drake was all the way in the wrong then. But it's when you think you hit that and you told he said that, it's bro, I hope you know how to fight. That's why I even tweeted it in the 2K League, put on the stream. Keep that shit 2K. 2K way easier than fighting. Keep that shit on the sticks. But again, Drake was wrong too. But at the end of the day, what I was saying is, sometimes it matters who says something to you on stage. Prime example, I played the Grizzlies in season 2, and me and Reese, we had this little like dance we used to do in the game, and they was losing, but they got up and started dancing. In just my opinion, Grizzlies had chumps on that motherfucking roster, and they hopped up, barking, acting tough, doing all this weird shit. And I'm like, that's not you niggas. Sit down. That's not y'all. So it's like, it's certain people who could talk to you, and it's like, all right, you respect it. But it's certain people who fucking talking, and it's like, bro, no. Hell no. So it's like, some like that, and Dante, as you know, Brooks responded, he one of those people. He one of those people, he look at him, and it's like, bro, this dude not about to talk crazy to me. But again, both of them was in the wrong. One took it further than the other. But that's just kind of how it is. Like, you could get caught up in the emotions, but you can always control what you say. Like, the stuff people get, like, was saying on stage now, I got fined for saying way less in 1 and 2. So it's just like, they had way more leniency, and people still getting suspended. So it's like, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, again, the whole situation, I figured there was, kind of like I said, I think there was just a lot of emotions in person. I mean, I think it was tough losing a series like that, and especially to a Nets team that, the Nets came out and they didn't talk any trash. Like, that was the interesting thing about it, is the Nets didn't come out talking trash, and I think that, with the Sixers kind of like, from what I was told, the Sixers started talking more trash, so I think that a lot of emotions built up in that last game that kind of, I think led to this, but overall, I mean, I think that, it was unfortunate that Dante got, like, suspended for a game for the Nets, but at the same time, I think Jake kind of stepped in and was fine anyway. So I think that, the Nets made a deeper run than anyone I think could have expected. So that's kind of what I want to talk about too. Like, we saw them beat the number 2 seeded Hornets. Like, this is a team that, the Hornets, they had one of the easiest schedules in the NBA 2K League. But my thing is, like, why was it that the Nets were so easily, like, why was it so easy for the Nets to go past the Hornets? Because the first thing I heard from somebody was because they have Sherm at point guard. That is literally, it was Sherm versus Chalk, and that was the difference in that series. I don't really agree with that, but I kind of want to hear your guys' perspective. Like, what made the Nets be able to make this run? Because they were basically like the Cinderella story. They didn't finish it, but they were the Cinderella story in this. And I'm going to go to Ye on this. Ye, you're a you know all about Cinderella stories. I mean, you were part of that season 1 Knicks team. So let me ask you, like, what was it about this Nets team that was able to help them elevate to the Final Four?
Well, they just really came out and punched him in the mouth. Like, you knew that the Nets were going to be the team to come out and put points on the board. And I was talking to Coach King on 2K Zone, and they were saying that they weren't expecting for legit to come out and play lock and be as good as he was on lock, and that kind of played a part of it. And I know that the Hornets were kind of going to like forcing the Nets to play their style of game, which is usually pretty slow compared to the way the Nets play, but it ended up being the other way around. The Nets just forced them to speed up and legit look really good on lock, and they were able to put a lot of points on the board. I think they got 100 the first game. And then, they kind of came back to game 2. Crown was yapping a little bit at halftime, but like it was just more the same in the second half. And really, they just took the Hornets off guard, and that's the best way I can sum it up. Man, the Nets played this solid ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Nets definitely came out. They definitely showed out. I mean, I think they kind of shocked a lot of. I mean, I feel like they definitely had anyone had a potential to make a run in this tournament, in my opinion. Like, I think anyone could like the Blazers at one point, people kind of again, I know the Jazz did 2-0 them, but the Jazz the Blazers for a little bit, like, they kind of made us wonder, what can they do? And the same thing went with the Warriors. I mean, the Warriors, a 4 seed that went to the Final Four. So in a way, they're kind of on that end, but at the same time, it's Keena. Every time Keena makes the playoffs, there's always, the whole playoff Keena type of thing. But we'll get to that. We'll get on that side of the bracket. I want to jump to the Grizz versus the Knicks. So I want to ask, this is a number 3 seed going against a 6 seed. So with this is a huge in sports. I mean, I guess this would be looked at as kind of not a major upset, but it's an upset. You know what I mean? Like, it's a Grizz team that, again, Vandy, struggled on stage back in the day, and now he's back on stage again, and we're kind of seeing those same results, and it wasn't just him. I think there was multiple players that didn't perform as well as they did in the regular season as they did in the playoffs. So I see JT shaking his head. What's on your mind, JT?
Upset. I can't give you that. Grizzlies to me was a team that started real hot and they fizzled. They went down. Coming into this playoffs on the East, to me, that was the least hot team. That was the weakest team. They looked the least good. Like, they started to just go down. That's the worst thing about starting so hot is, for the most part, you can only go down. Pacers, they maintained it in the West. But the Grizzlies started off mad hot, looking mad glitchy, mad good. You know, Vandy had a bunch of – I'm not going to hit a bunch of niggas around him. Hold up a team. They changed the whole thing up. That's what changed up. I told you. Them same chumps he didn't have them. He had actual real niggas. So he started hooping. He started going crazy. He had his team. He had his mojo. He had dudes actually instilling confidence in him, talking to him. But it's just, as the season went on, people started to figure them out. And as a team, defensively, they were never really there from the second half and on.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, I think that is very similar to kind of how the Sixers were. The Sixers, I felt like, were pretty, like, they were better in the beginning of the year than they did. They kind of fizzled out more at the end of the year too. But I do agree with you on that. I think that the Grizz obviously started out well, but they figured them out. Everyone thought the Pacers were figured out. Yes, they did, lose to the Jazz, but the Jazz are in the finals. I mean, but the Pacers definitely showed us something. I mean, 630 was going crazy out there, doing his thing, trying his best to do what he can. But yeah, I want to ask you, with your Knicks, I mean, we both predicted that the Knicks were going to run by this Grizz team. Like, we didn't even think, you saw me, like, I didn't even think the Grizz were going to win a game. I was actually shocked the Grizz ran away with the game. And then they started front running. That was a crazy thing, The best part was when Malik started doing the, what is that, the love slide, whatever the hell that is, that little love slide dance that Follow does, whatever the hell that is. But, I mean, let me ask you, did you ever think the Knicks had a chance in hell to beat the Wizards? I just want to know.
I thought that was going to be good enough to steal a game. They came out game one right out the gate. They were talking to Dave Fry, which I think they should have waited a little bit before getting up and started talking, because I think they feed off of that type of shit. So I would get a comfortable lead before talking trash to the Wizards. But I thought they would steal a game. I thought they were going to be able to steal game one. But after they get game one, and then I was like, okay, I think the Wizards might go ahead and sweep this. But they steal game one, then we have a series.
Okay. I mean, I agree.
I said that too.
But I think, I'll be honest with you guys, my whole perspective on the entire East, it was just the weaker conference this year compared to the West, guys. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on this. Why do you keep saying this, bro? I'm just saying, Gay. I know we talked about this.
You can't look at the records, bro. We can't look at it about records.
I know, but I'm just saying that, like, I felt like every West team, I felt like the West was just a lot stronger. And obviously, JT, you weren't here last week. I mean, I keep talking about this East versus West, but, like, what was your thoughts on the East and West? There was obviously people for a while were like, man, the East is better. But then I felt like it progressed to the West. Like, what is your thoughts on that? Like, on the Eastern Conference versus the Western Conference?
If I had to pick one, I'm going Western Conference. Like, I don't think the Western Conference had a weak team in the playoffs this season. Like, the East, like I said, you got the Grizzlies, Sixers up and down. Knicks, they was split season. Like, the West just had 6, in my opinion, strong teams. Like, the Blazers literally sold their ticket by playing Lab. They had 6 place lock, played Lab, split with the Mavs. They went all the way through the ticket, beat Mama. The Jazz, Pacers, Warriors, Pistons, T-Wolves. Like, the West don't have nothing like that's kind of weak. The East, you got just a bunch of teams who play no defense but know how to score. West got all the teams who play defense. Well, some of them, except the Wizards. Wizards and Hornets, the only teams in the East who play defense.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going to transition over to the West, because I want to talk about some of these. I want to go with the Warriors and Pistons matchup first. This is a matchup I felt like could have gone either way. I do feel like the Pistons kind of shot themselves in the foot. It really came down to the fact that if you watch the game closely, and I got a chance to kind of watch it more, Radiant wasn't passing the ball. They were all just converging on Radiant. There was people wide open on, in situations, but you saw Kiana blitzing from the corners. You saw players all just blitzing at Radiant. In this series, and I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch this series, but the Pistons could have. This was a winnable series. The Pistons, they did walk away with one game, I'm pretty sure, but it went to game 3, and it kind of just became one of those things where like the Warriors were able to pull away. But there was also some situations where 2K kind of screwed them. We saw an and one play that wasn't counted for an and one. Eagers had a wide open missed dunk. There was a bunch of freak accidents in the game itself that they couldn't control. But outside of that, the Pistons just weren't able to. They weren't able to beat the Warriors. But I kind of want to get your thoughts, Ye, on this series with the Pistons versus Warriors. Like, what did the Warriors do that was so much better? Was it prepping? Was it game planning? How did this, because they beat a team with arguably one of the best, I would say top 5 centers, if not one of the best centers in the league. You have Radiant, who has been looked at as one of the best point guards for years. And then you have a bunch of role players who I think they played a lot better, this year than some role players. So what did the Warriors do, Ye? Because I felt like a lot of people kind of were like sleeping on the Warriors, but at the same time, they're like, it's the Warriors. They can always make a run. But what were your thoughts on this series, Ye?
I remember watching film. It was me, you, and Joe Vegas was watching film on these guys, and it seemed like at times they were like 6 or 7 guys on the court on defense.
Appreciate the sub,
it was kind of throwing off Radiant because the way they were rotating. You saw yourself where they had Chaos and Hedgie kind of flying out of the corners, or they were predetermined swings, and it was like they were doing little small things that like the casual fan wouldn't really notice. But it was definitely getting under the offense of the Pistons, so they seemed a little stagnant at times. And then on the offensive end, like Hedgie was really aggressive. He was getting a ton of boards and going back up with them, getting I think he had like 20 and 10 like each game, I want to say. And even though Chaos was struggling from the field in that series, they still had consistent offense. They were running a few plays to kind of get a decent look on offensive end. And we call one the V-Fee, where they send Antoine up and then go on the Fifi right away. And they were doing little things like that just to keep Pistons on their toes and then working out for them.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask this question to both you guys. Obviously, I'll have JT. JT, I want you to first give me your thoughts, and then I have a question for both you guys. Do you guys think that Cooks Iverson would have made a difference in this series if he was on the team instead of Greenlight? But first, JT, I kind of want to get your thoughts on the series, and then I would like for you to answer that question if you can.
Thoughts on the series? I said it when I was in the party with all my guys. I said the Pistons have to sweep. I felt like if they didn't sweep, they lose the series, which happened. The biggest problem with game 1 with the Warriors was Keenan was the only one like really scoring. But in games, if I'm not mistaken, 2 and 3, 4 out of 5 starters had double digits. So it's like it was spread it. But that's always been the Pistons' biggest problem is defense. The offense, it's kind of always been like that. So to speak on Cooks Iverson making a difference, it's like not really, because it's just like Radiant is ball dominant. He's not about to like really let his shooting guard go crazy. I mean, he can, but it's like, why? Like Radiant stepped his game up as the year went on. So it was like they just adjusted by swinging on him, making him make reads that he wasn't making. It's like, but that's why I had the Warriors if the Pistons didn't take game 2, because they just adjust better. And the Pistons have defensive problems along with offensive problems where Radiant doesn't have it rolling. He's not hooping, nobody's hooping.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I think that it definitely showed that Pistons defense was missing. But I want to ask you, Ye, with Cooks Iverson, do you think that he would have made a difference? Obviously, JT kind of touched on the defense. Is there any other points that you could touch on why Cooks Iverson wouldn't have made a difference compared to Greenlight?
I think he would have played a little better than Greenlight, just because Greenlight was just kind of coming back into swinging things, and then they had to take a couple weeks off before the playoffs to come to Dallas. But I don't think it makes a difference in the series. I think the Warriors still come away with it. Like JT was saying, like if Radiant's not hooping, then like nobody's really hooping, and we kind of saw that. And Radiant couldn't really get going to draw more defensive coverage, and it made it easier on the Warriors, and Warriors were able to score the ball on the opposite end. So I don't think it makes a difference on the series.
I definitely do agree with both you guys. I think you guys bring up good points. So I want to jump down to this Jazz versus Blazers series. So the Jazz versus Blazers, this was I mean, first of all, in the middle of the series, the freaking power went out. I mean, we were, I know that we were, the Knicks game was going on with the Grizz, but literally in the middle of the game, the power goes out. I can't imagine what would be running through everyone's minds. I was hearing people screaming some things about 2K, like, dude, this is ridiculous. Oh, I mean, I'd be pissed. You know what I mean? But I kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts on that. But I also just want to kind of get your guys' overview on the series, because there was at the end of the Blazers game, if I'm not mistaken, there was some players that walked off, right as Lord Beezus hit that game winning three in the corner. They literally just walked off the stage. They didn't even like. There was still like a flick up that it didn't count anyway. But I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on this entire series, and I want to start with you on this, Ye. First of all, explain how you would feel with the whole situation with the power outage, and also then talk about near the end of the game where like we saw players walking off before anything, not shaking hands or anything, just walking off, because that's what the broadcast said from what if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'd definitely have been frustrated about being the Blazers. But like before the power went out, Jazz were on a run at that point. I think they were on like 8-0 run or up 8 or something like that along those lines. And then I think the Blazers ended up playing better once it came back. So see, the game one was kind of on them, even though that long break is just ass because it was like an hour or so went by and they had to find all these interviews and like compile all these content segments to keep the time running. And it was kind of funny from like the outside looking in, like, man, they're scrambling right now to keep this going. But it had to be frustrating for the Blazers. And then to lose with the flick, game two, and just being like a half a second too late, and it's heartbreaking. But like we got to see the coming out party for Splashy on the stage, and the fact that he was jumping around, I'm surprised he didn't get suspended for half the shit he was saying. But hearing his little squeaky voice to say he was the best player in the league, and he was going crazy. So like I'm like, man, the Jazz are really tough, and everybody like. And everybody forgot how good that Jazz team was coming in since they got Lottie, and remember how good they were last year, bringing those same 6 guys in. I'm like, you kind of knew they were going to make a run, so I'm not surprised. But it was good to see it on stage.
JT, your thoughts?
I feel like, well, I watched it. I don't want to say they like walked off the stage, but it's like a timeout was called and everybody was frustrated. So it's like, but I mean, that's the way it goes. Like you got blown out the first game. Next game, you in a hell game. It's tied, and you lose. It's like once that playoff loss hit different. It hurt. It's not nothing you can hide. Like just walk away from. Like you want to walk away because it's point forward. You gonna win the game and point forward? Nah, you can't. Mm-hmm. Down 3, you can throw you can get a layup. All of that. Down 2, down 3, the game's over. So, like, I don't want to say, like, I don't want to condone just walking off before the game's over, but the game's over. Mm-hmm. There's nowhere around the game's over. But I feel like that was just a team to where that Jazz team is built. That Lottie trade flipped that whole team around because to be honest, exposing on the Bucks was cool. But his brother, get on my level, was better at shooting guard than he was on the Jazz. Part of the Jazz struggles was exposing. Mm-hmm. Getting Lottie, that 5 is in sync with energy, with leadership, with hierarchy, with roles, with communication. Like that 5 is just locked. And that's why they're in the finals now. Because they have it's the same team. Same thing with the Wizards. It's only one new starter. And the one new starter was the 6th man from last year. It just goes to show you how much like the same roster on a good team matters.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I want to add on to this question. So if there is an expansion team, how much basically, do you think you could hold a team like the Jazz hostage and take a player like Lottie and say, hey, think about it. This is a player that completely changed their franchise around later in the season. Like obviously they were Final Four last year. Now they're in the finals this year. How high is like a Lottie's value onto that roster? Like, can you get 2 first rounds out of him? Because he's really important to this team. He's obviously shown that. So, can a team kind of hold them, kind of be like, yeah, give me what I want, or you don't get Lottie. You know what I mean? Like what are your guys' thoughts on that statement when I say that? And I want to start with Ye here, and then I'll go to JT.
Oh man, that's kind of tough. If Jazz win this, or even if they lose, they'll get a pretty low pick in the first round.
Exactly.
So if you get Lottie, I think he's at least that pick easy. So I guess you could do that. It really depends on how petty you are and what you value. If I have the team and I decide to grab Lottie, and if anything, they might keep him before expansion. So if Lottie is there and I grab him, I'm like that first round, I'm probably like, I don't know. You're gonna have to send me something better. You have to sweeten the pot a little bit. 2 first rounds, I don't think the Jazz take it, to be honest. But
Yeah,
you'd be surprised.
but my thing is, like I said, as soon as Lottie got added to that roster, we have seen a substantial difference in this Jazz team. This is not just like a a couple games jump. Like this team is literally, I promise you, without Lottie, they aren't in the finals. I don't care what anybody says, they are not in the finals without Lottie. So I mean, I think his value is at an all time high. And even with players, like you don't want to lose to compete. Like that's kind of like there's like I feel like there needs to be a respect level in this league when you have players that like especially your season one players like Compete's been there. You kind of have to like respectfully you retain a guy like that. That's like your franchise guy. He's been there since day one. You could try to let him go out in expansion, but again, you could run the same deal as like you were with as an expansion team. You could take one of their players, no matter what. It's going to be a trade because they're a championship team. You can hold them hostage. But I kind of want to go to JT on this. I kind of want to get your thoughts on that, JT.
Mike was on mute. Personally, I'm not really with the whole petty thing, the whole pick a man to see what I could get for him type thing. Because one, like Ye said, it won't be a good pick. Like it'll be a first round pick, but it's like in the expansion, you're supposed to kind of like pick who you want to build your team around. Not I'm gonna pick him so I could trade him when you don't even know what the draft pool gonna look like. So the whole point of the expansion is to take who you want, who you like, who you believe in, who you buying into. That's the whole point of it. So to take a player just to ship a player, unless you just feel like that's good, which I don't. Like I'm not with it. I don't understand it. I say don't do it. Like I don't like pick a dude you want because what if that doesn't happen? Like unless something is in place, which would be tampering, which happens, to be honest. If something is in place before the pick comes, yeah, you pick him, we could trade blah, blah, blah. Okay. But if you just picking him banking that the Jazz will trade for him back, that's stupid. That's dumb. Because if you stuck with him and you don't like him, now you look stupid. So it's like pick what you want, pick who you want, and that's it.
I think that's definitely fair. But we're going to move on to I think one of the biggest upsets in the entire tournament, and that is T-Wolves versus Warriors. Now, yes, I get it. This is the Warriors are a really good tournament team historically, but they're going against one of the best, I would say, one of the best teams in the league, and we show up in playoffs, and that completely changes because this is a team that has, I think, players that are pretty built for the stage, except one player didn't show up, and that was the MVP candidate, Kai. But in this series, this is a team of you have one team of barking dogs, and then you have a team of very I feel like just very like it's not like I just think they're very high IQ players on that Warriors team. Like I think Kina and Gradient are just some I think Gradient's had one of the a really underrated year. He's had an amazing year. Hezzy did a great job, obviously in this in this entire tournament, but when you saw this guy, unfold, was this something shocking or was it kind of expected? And I'll start with JT on this one.
The Kai was shocking. Like I didn't. If you would have told me coming into this series that Antoine would make Kai's life hard or that Kai would be that broke on missing his open shots, I would say smack yourself. I would say no way Kai doesn't come in here with a one-on-one matchup with a shooting guard and fuck on him. No way. Mm-hmm. But he did. But my biggest thing I was right about, which I said last year, I said the Warriors was going to hurt them is the big man matchup, Day'Ron Slaughter. Coming into this one, I said it was going to hurt the Wolves, Hezzy and Slaughter. Don't get me wrong, Slaughter's a good big man. He hoops in regular season, but it just seems like every time his team loses in the offs, he's not the main blame, but he's always getting outplayed by a solid margin. Like he's always getting like last year he got dominated, he got fucked on. But this year, like Hezzy just like beat him out. But yeah, Kai he was the biggest shock of the whole playoffs for any player as in disappointment. Like you just expected him to come out and just do whatever he wanted. You didn't expect Bear to come out going crazy and Kai not to help him. Like this season, it's been the other way around, if anything, sometime. But to expect Kai to do that, it was a shock. It was like, whoa, like it kind of like sunk his MVP. Like now it's just like you have to just give it to 6:30 and call it a day. Like that series itself, if Kai gets MVP, it's a mockery.
Yeah, and I was actually going to be my following question. Do do you think that like that game, like that series alone, kind of like sunk his chances of MVP? Because I mean, I'm gonna ask this question to Ye because you kind of answered it, but Ye, like obviously talk about the series, but like, did this sink Kai's chances of getting MVP? Because I mean, he looked bad out there, and I definitely think that it swayed some opinions on him.
Right. It really depends on how we look at MVP. I know that I think it's a regular season award, but I don't know how the 2K League is going to go about making that decision. But to assume that they're going to take the playoffs into account, I think it definitely does hurt his chances a little bit, especially if he was 1A, 1B with 630. 630 lost, but he put up 49 in a game, had 9 assists, and he did everything he could. It just that Jazz team just outplayed him. But on T Wolves, they just they were missing Kai. Like if Kai shows up, they win that series, and that hurts his chances a little bit. But I agree with JT on this one. Like if Kai is plays even remotely as good as he did all year, we have a whole different conversation right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely do agree with you, Ye. I think the problem is with the setup of the way it's going this year for the is the voting done yet for like all the awards? Like I don't even know if it's done yet.
I think they're gonna leave a percentage of it up to the public, and then and then they're gonna do
I just
coaches
feel
and player
like
vote. I don't know.
feel like this should have been done sooner. So because now our perceptions are completely changed of him. You know what I mean? And that's the issue is the fact that we're doing this literally before. Like I don't know when it's going to be done or when the voting is going to go on. I haven't really heard anything, but it's too late. Like that's like with the regular NBA. I'm pretty sure they do voting way ahead of time, so you don't because think about it. How many times think about it, James Harden probably would have never been an MVP if he would have gotten the way it's gone because let's be honest, how deep has James Harden gone in the playoffs? Same thing with Westbrook. You know what I mean? Those guys probably wouldn't be looking at MVPs because everyone would be like, oh, they got first rounder first game they played. So I think that future reference, the league needs to, if they're going to do this voting, or even like the media votes or the player votes, all that stuff, it needs to be done earlier because now it's like this isn't a regular season award. This is just an overall league award. You know what I mean? For playoffs and for the regular season. So that's just the only issue, and I don't think it's ever been like that either. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that I felt like we've done the awards earlier before this, like for the league. Like I just feel like this is the latest, and that's just my opinion on it.
It is. And like you said, with the regular NBA, once the regular season ends, voting is taken. It doesn't. By the time the first game of playoff starts, all the voting is locked, and it is based off regular season. Game Nation, but the only thing is it's hard to just lose what we seen.
Yeah,
it's hard to just say, "Hey, Kai went into that Warriors game, played ass 630. His first game on stage had 53 and 11 and lost." It's like a complete different thing. So I mean, we could take out the bias, but even so, it's still 630 because Kai has, in my opinion, a way better team.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think that JT, you bring up a good point with the fact that Kai does have a better team, and the fact that 630, he's basically like out there putting LeBron James numbers out there and losing the finals. You know what I mean? Like he's doing what he can. You know what I mean? He's trying to put the team on his back, but the team just can't. There's just not enough. And some people might be like, oh, he's a high usage rate guard, but he's still pretty efficient for a high usage rate guard. So the fact that he's able to do what he does, and yeah, I know he didn't win the series, but neither did the T-Wolves, right? The only thing that Kai has on 630 is the fact that when they played against each other in the regular season, he 2-0'd him. You know what I mean? That's the only difference between Kai and 630 is Kai 2-0'd him and Kai outplayed him in that series. 630 didn't play well against the T-Wolves, but that comes back to the point that because Kai has a way better team. Kai has better teammates around him, so. I am with you on that idea that I go back to the pendulum, I would say last week me and Ye were talking about it being Kai based on regular season, but now that we've seen playoffs, our perceptions have completely changed. So I do agree with you that it's definitely favoring 630 more. I would not be shocked if 630 walks away with that award now. But I want to move on to the Pacers, the Pacers and Jazz, because you bring up a good point. Talking about, obviously with that team, everyone knew it was going to happen. I hate to say it. I think everyone had an idea what was going to happen to the Pacers. It's a team that was I felt like you had players who did well. You know what I mean? I think Wolf had a pretty good year. I don't think people really talk about the year that Wolf had. Wolf had played a lot better this year compared to last year. So You had Joe Mar, who I think played very well this year. Lav, and even Swizerk. I mean, he actually was one of the better shooting guards out there. Yes, he didn't shoot as many shots as most shooting guards, but he still knocked down the shots that were handed to him. So I think all the players on that team, don't get enough credit because obviously you have a guy like 630 who's a superstar. I mean, I just think that, with this team, though, going against the Jazz, it's just a tough matchup. I think it's just a huge mismatch for them. I think the Jazz just knew what to do against the Pacers. I mean, they knew what had to happen. So, you don't agree?
53-11 is knowing what to fucking do. That sounds like you got fucked on. The only difference was 630's team couldn't grab a stop. And that's the thing. You have to expect that the Jazz do win after losing game one, because if you drop 53-11 and you lose, and you drop it shooting, 67% and you lose, bro, you're checked. You're checked. In that mid-game, between game 1 and 2, hey, y'all, what we going to do better? Shit, get me a stop. What we gonna do better? What we gonna talk about? If I'm 630, I got 4 words. Get me a stop. I'm not talking again. It's nothing to talk about. I scored. I passed the ball. That's it. Like Splash had 33 and 15 and 1. 630 had 53 and 11. He didn't have 50 and 1 assist, 55 and 3 assists. He had 53 and 11.
Oh man, that's got to be a terrible.
And he lost, and that was his first game. He's only 18. Like, he gave it his all, and when you lose, giving it your all, it hurts. And then then after that, that's the crazy part. Game 2, it's halftime. Swizerk and Wolf are 1 for fucking 11. You just gotta look like, all right, I gotta be. Yeah. It's like I had a good year. I might be rookie of the year and MVP. I gotta take that. Season's fucking over. After I scored 53 and 11, my 2 and 3 come out here and say, you know what? Fuck you. 1 for 11 at halftime. So it's just like at that point, like I admit Jazz are the better team, but the Pacers as a team just didn't show up enough to where it wasn't like to what they did in the regular season. Pacers were a way better team in the regular season as a team, like as their role players, Lavish, Jomar. I also think Randall's better than Swizerk. I think he helps that team way better than Swizerk does. I feel like Randall plays better defense. He talks more, and he's a better scorer. So it's just like having that, like just Swizerk when 630 doesn't have it going, you can't turn to Swizerk. I feel like you could turn to Randall, but that's irrelevant because he got MVP with Swizz as a shooting guard. But again, Jazz were the better team, but 630, he just had no help. He did a whole bunch of scoring and just nothing. You got to grab folks to stop at some point.
So let me get your honest opinion, because it sounds like, this is kind of like a tough thing. This is kind of like a team building thing. Moving forward, who are the players that you keep on that Pacers team to build around 630?
630, Jomar. I'm going to stick with Wolf. Wolf actually hooped this year. He started to look like old Wolf.
So what my thing is, though, what players are you going to get to improve that defense, though? Because if that's what they really need, like, do you think drafting some power forward out there is going to dramatically change their situation? Or do you move Wolf to a power forward and hope that you get a really good lock in the draft? Because that's my only thing. It's like, I think that Wolf hooped, and I agree. I think Joe Mars is a good pickup, but are those players a good fit for 630? Someone who just needs a better all around defensive team. Like, so I again, we don't know what the future of the draft's going to look like. I mean, I definitely think now it's easy to say those players, but again, we have to make huge changes on their defense. So, I mean, I agree with Wolf and I agree with Jomar, but at the same time, it's like those are like the prime positions that we need improvement defensively. So those two players just have to find a way to get more stops for 630 in the future. I think that's really what it comes down to.
But the center doesn't really guard P&R.
Yeah, so I guess
it's like power forward. But it's also you still need more help on both ends at the two, because as you look at most shooting guards play top of the key on defense. The only point guards who play top is like JBM and 630, because their shooting guards just can't. I guess I don't know, but it's like that. Like Randall, he could have played the top and been perfect. He could have played top of the key and made a way bigger impact on defense than 630 on that small guard that sucks at getting shot contests. Like that's why PGs don't play the top on the league build this year because of shot contests. That's it. Mm-hmm. So it's like just every piece matters. It's not just one piece. Like, but it's like who do you if you don't bring back Wolf, who do you just bank on getting? You know what I'm saying? It's like and Wolf's also versatile. Like you said, he could slide to the four. You can grab a lot. It's like you keep players you can build around who you can move around. Same thing with Yomar. You can move Yomar up if it's some dog ass big there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Wolf and Yomar are two players who are versatile. Yeah. Two players you can build around who are their best players outside of 630.
That's good points. Yeah, do you have anything to say about this series? Anything, obviously, what would you do with this team moving forward? Just get your comments on that, and then we'll move on to the Jazz Warriors.
Yeah, I think before protection, I think Cody's going to go with Wolf, Jomar, and 630. I think it's pretty obvious. But he does like Swizzer. He's a big fan of Swizzer. I think he's going to bring him back. And then they're going to have Lavish kind of fend for himself again going into next year. But, I mean, that's not what I would do, but I think that's what Cody's going to do because he does it every year, keeps Swizzer and Wolf. But in terms of like what they could have done better, I think JT hit it right on the head, man. That they had to get some stops and they just didn't do it. Well, you disagree? You think they gonna get rid of Swizzer?
Bro, Swizzer don't play the fucking game, bro.
He never has, but they keep keeping him.
He's
That's
a 2K
dumb.
League zombie.
I agree, but Cody's gonna keep him.
That's like don't get me wrong. I love the Wonder Twins. But how the hell do the Wonder Twins get drafted and they didn't even have next gen? They didn't play a game. So it's like at some point, it's just like you have to get dudes that lock in and play the game. And that's what shocked me about Swizzer starting over Randall. I don't know what the story on that is because Swizz is not the better player. I could make a poll and it'll probably be 95-5. Like Randall is the better player in almost every facet. So I don't know what that call is, but it's like if you bring back Swizzer again over Wolf and all them, like any of them, he's the worst player in the lineup, to be honest. So if you bring back Swizzer, Cody Parent went from great season, great coaching to buddy, what the fuck are you doing? So it's just like, we'll see. But if that's the call that's made, and Swizz a cool guy, but he just don't play the game. Why keep rewarding a dude that don't play the game? So we'll see what Cody Parent about. We'll see if his head is finally going straight. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge thing. I do believe we're going to see a lot more people playing retail, and I don't. Maybe it's just easy to say that right now because we're in that the honeymoon phase of 2K22 where everyone's like talking about rosters. But I do feel like a lot of league players that are currently in the league right now, I feel like a lot more of them are going to play more retail moving forward in the fall. I don't know if Swizzerk will play. I honestly don't think he will. I honestly think that if he's not retained by that Pacers team, there's a good chance that he might not get picked up just because he doesn't play. I mean, and again, it's kind of tough to reward behavior like that because I hate to say it doesn't matter. People think that they don't need to pick up the game and they'll still be good. But we saw what happened to players like Mama who didn't play the game that much in pre-draft. And he even said that himself. He's like, it took time for him to kind of get things together. But it wasn't all his fault in that situation. Obviously, there was, he had one of the worst years. I mean, Seam had one of the worst years in the entire league at shooting guard. Like, you can go statistically. This is not no bias or anything. This is literally statistically, he had one of the worst years at shooting guard. And just the overall, just the team just not play well. Like, there were just a lot of, stupid moments. And again, not playing the game definitely affects you. And you're not going to get better by not playing the game. So, that's my biggest thing about this is it's important that you do play in the offseason. So, I do agree. Hopefully, moving forward, a lot of the Pacers players do play in the offseason to try to improve on some things defensively. And maybe the game will be different, too. Let's be honest. This year was not a very... I mean, obviously, some teams had good defense, but it wasn't like last year's defense. I feel like last year's defense, in a way, was a little easier compared to this year's defense. I feel like it was more of an offensive game this year than defensive. And if you guys think that, if you guys think I'm wrong here, you guys can disagree. But I just think it was more of an offensive year this year, if anything. But anyway, we're gonna move on to Did you get to say anything about this about the Pacers and Jazz? I think you did, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. We're gonna move on to the Warriors and Jazz. Now, this was a hell of a series, man. Like, I love this series. Like, watching this was like one of my favorite series to watch all year. I mean, I want to kind of hear from you guys because this was a battle of the Titans. This was two orgs. I felt like that. Again, they're both in the Final Four last year. They're consistently showing. They're now showing consistency in the 2K League as being top teams. I mean, most of the teams in the playoffs this year, guys. I mean, you look at the Warriors; they're 3-for-4. The Pistons, I mean, they're 2-for-4. T-Wolves are 2-for-3. The Blazers are 4-for-4. Jazz are they're 2-for-4, right? Yeah. Nets are 2-for-2. They're 2-for-3. The Knicks are because of the ticket, they're 2-for-4, but they're also a champion. The Grizz, that's the first time for them. So the Hornets are 2-for-2. The Sixers are 3-for-4. The Wizards are 3-for-4. We're seeing a lot of consistency in the league. Whether people realize that or not, but we're seeing that many teams that have that high percentage of a chance of making playoffs. It is a little concerning for some of those orgs that are on the outside looking in, because you're seeing these orgs that are kind of like dominating and taking those playoff spots every year. But with this Warriors and Jazz team, this is two teams I think that are viewed as just elite teams. You know what I mean? They're in that elite space. Regardless of the kind of the year the Warriors had. Some people, like I said, they kind of look down on the Warriors. They're like, oh, they're not that good, but you still watch out for them in playoffs. You know what I mean? And they showed that. So looking at the series, I mean, what were your first impressions with this series, JT? And what, we saw the coming out party of Hezzy in this. So I kind of want to hear your thoughts on just your opinion about Hezzy. Is Hezzy a top 5 center in the league?
Top 5. I can't give him that yet. Not off 1 year because you still have Rhea, still got Dave Fry, you got Hot Shot, you got Ramo.
Shots.
Shots. But I mean, he is who everybody thought he was. I feel like Crazy is in the same style as him, the same expectations. It's just Crazy's team drafted. How they drafted, you'd have thought they didn't even show up.
Mm-hmm.
Draft was terrible. So it's just like him and Crazy were locks, and then they turned into big men. So it's just like those are just two versatile dudes who are there, But come on, Frankie, the Lakers drafted like shit. We all know that. Hezzy not. He's just a dog. Like everybody was like, oh man, who would trade Beast Move? Who would trade Beast Move? But I feel like the Warriors are the most unappreciated team this season because once they drafted Beast Move, they got dragged, they got clowned. And I'll be honest, I was one of the dudes like, bro, you don't trade him. You don't trade him. But when Slaughter gets fucked by Dave Fry the way you do, your priority becomes what? A center. And look what they got. A fucking demon. He holds his own. He talks his shit. He a rookie with confidence. Hezzy is that type of center you want. He not scared of nobody. He don't get rattled by nobody. He talking. I remember the Jazz blew him out, and he was like, "It's easy to talk when you up 30. Talk now." Like it's like he always ready. He always there. He's always locked. So Hezzy, he's just like that. He was like, I won't say still a draft because he went third, but it's like Hezzy was just in his bag. He did his thing. He was in his mode. Like league was meant for him. He built for it. So it's like. That big man thing was huge. Like he held his own all playoffs. He was definitely my most impressed player by far. So he held his own. Like I'm proud of him. I even messaged him. I'm like, bro, you a dog, bro. I'm proud of you, bro.
My mic's muted. My bad. Appreciate it, Big West. Okay. Thank you. But obviously you have the Warriors who was, they were in the finals last year. They make it to the Final Four this year. What my question to you, Ye, is what are the Warriors going to do moving forward to take that leap forward to become a championship team? Because it seems like they're so close to it, but they just keep falling short of it. What do you think that, is going to happen moving forward? And what were your impressions on both the Jazz and the Warriors in this entire tournament?
I think that's a really good question because we were missing that kind of beast move void a little bit from Antoine throughout the season, and like he did what he could, but he stepped up. He stepped up big time in the playoffs. But I feel like you need somebody to kind of fill that void throughout the regular season and then kind of amplify it even more come playoff time because this is the third time the Warriors got to the Final Four, I believe. And still not be able to walk away with a championship because I think they got the right piece in getting Chaos there. Then Chaos has to shoot a little more consistent in the playoffs. I think Hezzy, we're having Hezzy. This is his first year on center, just going from playing lock all year to coming in the center. I think he played phenomenal. So now I think in pre-draft you're gonna have Hezzy who's gonna actually grind center, which I would assume he was gonna do, and then come in to play center come league build. And like he might be a totally different beast. So that's why to answer the question you gave JT, I don't think he's top five, but once he gets a year of grinding the game and then coming in the league build, he's gonna be top five in my opinion. So I think once they feel that beast move, because I don't think if they feel that beast move void at the 2 spot, and then Hedgie comes in as a top 5 center like that he's projected to be, I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to have what is necessary. Then it's going to come down to execution.
All right, sorry guys, sorry. I have to mute it because there's an echo. My bad. Looking at this though, I just wanted to go check the stats. I mean, I think that, and this is nothing against, I think Antoine actually played very well in the playoffs for what it's worth.
He did.
But when it came down to this Jazz series, I mean, again, numbers don't speak justice for it, but he did shoot like 3 for 7, 4 for 10.
He's a grenade. He's a grenade man, though.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, it's just that, like, do you feel like that? Let's say that the Warriors, do you think that they can get a shooting guard in the draft to kind of up them, or do you think that they should go, or should they stick with Antoine and just keep going, moving forward with him? Like, what do you think they should do? Do you think they should go for a shooting guard in the draft, or do you think they should stick with Antoine?
If you ask Keena, he believes in whoever he plays with. So I think no matter who he puts in the 2 spot, he's going to believe they have a chance at winning it all. But in my opinion, I think you do have some talented pieces. They could go one more season with Antoine. They were successful this year. They played halfway through the year. We didn't know what Warriors team was gonna finish the year off, and they ended up playing really well. So I think once Antoine has time to grind the game at the 2 spot now, so he's been playing a little bit of everything pre-draft. He was playing point guard, he's playing the 4, he jumped around, and he usually does that every pre-draft. And then Hezzy is going to have a year to play the 5 all the way through. So I think you give Antoine another shot. He grinds the game at the 2. And then it come league build, he's ready. Same thing with Hezzy at the 5. They find a way to keep that same 5. I don't know how, but with the way everything goes nowadays. But I think Antoine would be there for their first round pick. And they try to go for it again. So if it's up to me and I'm that guy running the Warriors, I try to give them one more go. Or unless somebody outstanding is going crazy in the pre-draft that lands at that spot.
Okay, that's fair. Sorry. I keep muting my mic because I keep having an echo. I'll stop doing it, guys. Jazz versus Wizards. We're going to go to the finals now, okay? Because I think that this is really, really... I think this is an amazing finals. I mean, we have Splashy and Rhea, and obviously the rest of the Jazz guys, not taking anything away from them, but Rhea is looked at as one of the best centers in the 2K League versus Dave Fry, who's one of the best, centers in the 2K League. Then you have Splashy versus Jack, Jack, who's Mr. I can't turn the ball over. This guy, this guy is so good with not turning the ball over. That's one of his best suits, the fact that he, doesn't lose the ball. And people don't I feel like, people don't talk about Jack's, progression throughout the season. I feel like he wasn't doing anything crazy early on. He kind of got a little steadily better as the season went. And then in playoffs, we get playoff Jack. Jack has been performing very well, in my opinion. Obviously, their role players are playing very good with Justin, Actually, I want to ask this question to you guys first. Yes or no, kind of give your description. Just awkward? Is he the defensive player of the year? Because analytically, his season. I mean, he's one of the better 2-way players this season defensively. I mean, he was good on the defensive side, and he was also really good on the offensive side. I actually have an analytic. I'm pretty sure he is number 1 in the 2K League for point guards allowed. I know that it's kind of like a rough stat, but when it comes to point guards in the 2K league, he allows the least amount, like the Wizards allow the least amount of points, and he's normally on, you would say that he's normally on ball or guarding the point guard, depending on obviously the situation. But again, Justin is top in a lot of categories defensively. Let me just pull those up for me. But again, I kind of want to ask you guys that question. Do you guys think that Justin is Defensive Player of the Year? And I want to start with you, Ye.
I think if we're looking at it the same way we were looking at MVP earlier with playoffs becoming like a factor into the voting, I think he runs away with it at this point at Defensive Player of the Year. But if you want to just look at regular season, like you were saying before, I feel like we need a stat to show how much time the lock stays in front of the point guard, or how many times in a game where you force the offense to shoot within 5 seconds of the shot clock, or something like the last 5 seconds of a shot clock, something like that, so where we can really like draw out the lock and how important they are. But in terms of like just looking at it from like my point of view, I would have to give it to Awkward. I think he's just the best lock in the league. I think Crush was right there. Just the team just couldn't get done, and we reward players who were causing their team to get wins. So it was really tough between like Awkward and Dayfire in terms of Defensive Player of the Year. So I think Awkward deserves it.
So I just want to give you guys some analytics real quick, okay? Because this is from 2K Labs. So the Wizards allow only 20.9 points per game to any point guard they play. So again, that has to, a portion of that does have to come from your lockdown, guarding ball. And also they force the most turnovers for a point guard per game as well. So those are two big things they do. And Justin is also, I think he's 4th in steals right now in the 2K league. That's obviously regular season stats, but he's 5th. So the only people in front of him is Shifty, Bumpy Don, Trap, and Crush. Those are the only players that are in front of him when it comes to steals per game. Outside of that, it's kind of tough. Like, what do you judge Defensive Player of the Year? And that's an eye testing, right? You have to watch a lot of games and stuff like that to really judge a really good defensive player. But if we're going by numbers, we're going by the playoff performance, I don't see why he wouldn't be, arguably the Defensive Player of the Year. But I kind of want to hear from your opinion, JT. What do you think?
I don't think it's a discussion. For 2 years straight, the Wizards have the best half-court defense in the league. Like, people looked at the Raptors last year, 16-0, won 2 tourneys, all that. But that's because of their full-court press. But once you got in the half-court against the Wizards, they locked everybody up, which is why they beat the Raptors. They turned down the turnovers and made them get in the half-court. You get in the half-court against the Wizards, it's automatic hell. Awkward is just an amazing lock. He's amazing at picking up tendencies, communicating. That whole little Day Fry, Dini, and Awkward, that cohesiveness is crazy. It's stunning. And so it's like holding PGs to 20.9 points a game. I don't like, just me going off my head. The only PG that didn't average that to think is Ohio. Every other point guard in the league averaged 22 or more. Yeah. So the whole PGs to 21 a game, and this broke build where yellows go, where you green, yellows, a fade is like a stand-up shot, all of that, and you're holding point guards to 21 points a game through 28 games, that has to start with Awkward. It doesn't finish with him, but if you don't have a lock to start it, you can't even accomplish that.
So I actually want to give you that analytic. The only point guards to not go above their average of the 20.9 is both Sherm and Bohio. Bohio averaged 13.72, and Sherm averaged 20.88. The only person that's even close, Bear averages 21.09, but he also has Kai, who's has a much higher usage rate. So, but again, there's only 2 point guards. There's 2 starting point guards in the league that are above that. Most point guards, I would say, probably are average around that 25 to 26 range. So they're substantially under the average, in my opinion, when it comes to points per game. So, I mean, to hold that, I mean, that's impressive. And I completely agree. I don't really think it's a debate, but like I said, I mean, at this point, I feel like I haven't heard much discussion on whether, who's the Defensive Player of the Year. And if I had a vote and I had a media vote, mine's going towards Justin. I just think that Awkward has just had a great year. I think he's had a great year. Last year he had an amazing year, and he continued that. So, I mean, yeah.
Jay Letter had him at number 1 all season.
Hmm?
The Yay ladder had him up #1 all season.
Yay ladders, man. And all those yay lists, man. Let me tell you what. If you're not on a yay list, you're not getting drafted in season 5. That's a fact. Book it.
Oh God, shut
You
that.
heard that,
Shut that
JT?
shit up.
You heard that?
Shit,
Hey,
me. I'll prove it wrong.
hey,
I'll
I'm
prove
gonna need you.
leave
I'm gonna need
me
you on
off of it on purpose. I'll prove it wrong.
that.
I'll prove it wrong. Shit, me.
Oh man. But anyway, let's kind of talk. Wrap up this portion and then get to the next 2 other topics. But Jazz versus Wizards, guys. This is the matchup of the ages. I want to know, Yay, who do you have in this series, and who is gonna be the X factor in the NBA 2K League Finals for that winner?
Jazz versus Wizards. Oh man, I think the X factor is really going to be who they have up top. I think they have Lottie guarding up top with B Rich, right? Lottie guarding up top with Compete, right? Hash.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to end up being Lottie, man. Like the kind of coverage they're going to have to do something to slow JBM down in terms of forcing him to make some turnovers, and on the other end, Lottie being able to pick off and score the ball the way he did, the way he has been throughout the playoffs. I think he's going to be the X factor. He already showed that as soon as he stepped up on the team, that they became exponentially better than when they had Alex on the team. So, and they also said that he's the point guard whisperer, and I feel like he's kind of like the big brother of the team, him and Compete. And with everything that the Compete's going through, and then Splash, and very emotional guy, and he's very high strung, and he wants to win really badly. And I think that Lottie is going to be that guy in the locker room to the one. Get everybody on the same page, and then show up on come game day. So I think I'm gonna give it to Lottie.
JT, who do you think is going to be the X factor, and who's winning the NBA 2K League Finals?
Who's winning? I'm not gonna lie. I can't tell you. Like it's tough. It's tough. Like, of course, I have more homies on the Jazz, but I mean the Wizards are just like they're just that cohesive team that just like they pulled B Rich, a 6-man who didn't play but one game last year. They replaced him with Reese. That just goes to show you how great that system is, how great that team is outside of that 2-guard position. But the X factor, I agree. I feel like it's Lottie. I feel like he on that team in this series, he'll have to hoop. He's gonna have to really hoop, because I do feel like Awkward is gonna give Splash a hard time, because he's gave everybody a hard time. So I feel like if Lottie can really score, give them a consistent 20 efficiently, they can take the series, because that's what it's going to come down to, is who can score, because the Wizards don't score that much. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that. Jack averages 25, 26 every year. Playoffs, he turns up, cool. But they're not really a high-powered offense. They're a high-powered defense. So if you don't turn the ball over against them, and you can easily outscore them. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it comes down to what Lottie does. This should be a great series. It's hard to call it, like I said.
Listen, it's no clear. I think as we get closer, some people are going to start feeling something in the water, like, it feels like the tide's going this way, the tide's going that way. I do want to throw one analytic at you guys. Do you know that Jack and Splashy are the best assist to turnover ratio point guards in the league? So this is actually these are 2 point guards that are the best at when it comes to their assist to turnover ratio. They're the best. Jack is number 1 with 4.38, and then Splashy's 4.31. So it's like the 1 and 2, literally the best, 2 of the best. This is 2 of the best point guards to basically they don't turn the ball over. So this game, I feel like it's gonna be one of those games to where, yes, defense is gonna matter, but I think it's gonna be a very slow. I feel like it's just gonna be a slow game. I feel like it's not gonna be one of those we're not gonna see a crazy amount of transitions. I think that a lot of teams are gonna get stuck in the half court. But if I was to take a team in the half court, in half court defense, I'm leaning towards the over on the Wizards end. So that's my thing. If this game does become a half court game, I like the Jazz. I think the Jazz are a really good team, but if the Wizards are consistently getting that Jazz team in the half court versus the transition buckets and all that, I think it's going to be tough. But it is hard to call this series. I mean, for me, I'm kind of stuck too. I don't know who is going to win this finals, because I look at it, it's you got Splashy who, he's going to do his thing, man. Like, but again, you got players. I mean, Dayfry versus Rhea, I feel like that matchup is going to be very close in a way. Like maybe one guy will get one game, one will get the other, but I don't see one of them like just coming out and dominating the other in some crazy fashion. Like maybe Rhea has a really good game, and then Dayfry has a really good game. I don't see that. There's the two top hard to pluck and least baited PGs in the league out of everyone. Yeah, I mean that's a good point, Nate. I mean it's 2 point guards that like they're just smart, man. They're not going to turn that ball over, and it's going to frustrate defenses. Defenses are going to be like, God, bro, get me a stop. You know what I mean? That's what you're going to hear from Splashy. Get me a freaking stop, and then you're going to hear on the other side too, because it's just going to be 2 point guard. I mean, honestly, it's not going to be really 2 point guards going at it with scoring, because I think Jack's going to kind of pass it more. But it's going to be a lot of splash scoring, a lot of raps, and kind of like off-ball jigging with Lottie, and then it's going to be the Wizards with. I mean, I think B Rich is going to be really important in this series. I mean, B Rich has obviously been. I mean, I think he's played pretty well for what it's worth, but I do feel like he's going to matter to them a lot when it comes to scoring. I think that like you said, they don't score a lot, but they're going to need to score a lot against this Jazz team, because this is a Jazz team that can put up a lot of points. So I mean, as much as I want to say like the Wizards, but at the same time. This Wizards team's got to put up some points, and I think it's really important that players like B Rich can step up and kind of take that scoring load if Jack is getting a lot of if they're like blitzing Jack a lot. But if I was to go with a team in this series, I mean, listen, guys, whoever I pick is going to lose. I just want to let you guys know that I'm the curse. So I'm gonna go with the Wizards. All right, because I'm gonna go with the Wizards to win this, man. But
man, champ.
Well, listen, if the Jazz win, you know why. All right? You know why. If the Jazz win,
that's bad. You're supposed to stick with I'm stuck and leave it.
I mean,
your name bad enough. Why would you want to carry that someone in that shit? Just shut your ass up. Enough is not enough.
No.
But he had a Knicks hoodie on when we played in the finals, so.
Hey,
he broke it that time. Hey, but I had the Jazz winning from the jump, so I want the Jazz to win this.
And you don't have anyone, JT? No picks at all, just neutral.
I'm gonna go Jazz.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh,
I like it. I mean, I'll definitely come back to this. I mean, listen, I can't wait to be the only one right. That's all. I feel
like it's going to 5 though.
Oh no, for sure. It's going all the way. It's going the full course. I think it's going to be an amazing finals. But anyway, champ is the worst, Joe. Joe, I'm not going to talk about it because I did actually have the Pistons and the T-Wolves winning their matchups, and the Warriors shut me the hell up. But I won't talk about that. I kind of cursed them. My bad. That compete storyline is crazy, man. Losing his whole brother. Listen, man. I just want to say, I wish the best for compete. I mean. I don't really want to go too deep into that, but I wish the best for the man. I hope that he's in my prayers. His family, I'm praying for his family. I'm sorry for his loss. I mean, I know he's going to go out there and he's going to be doing. He's playing for him, man. I know this means a lot to compete, and I wish the best for him, man. But at the end of the day, like I think it's important that when situations like that happen, like the amount of support that we give each other, I think that really shows kind of like the true identity of this community, like. People talk about being toxic. People talk about, bad on each other. But at the end of the day, like, bro, like, we do come together when it comes to, situations to support each other. But, again, he link his GoFundMe for the chat, champ. Oh, I actually, if you can DM me that link, I'd love to put it in the chat because, again, I know that there's obviously, I think they've already raised around $3,000. I know they've raised a little money. I think that's awesome. I mean, I'm glad that people are really, putting money towards a really, good cause and stuff like that. But, yeah, Joe, if you can just DM me that link, I'd appreciate that. Or I don't know
check your Twitter, champ. I did.
You did? All right.
The tweet.
All right, bet. All right, let me just put this in like I said, guys, please, when you guys have a chance, I'd really appreciate if you guys could please go and just donate, even if it's $1, $5, anything, guys. It really means a lot. I am going to link you guys the tweet of the GoFundMe. Please go to this tweet. Please, even if you guys don't donate, please retweet the tweet or support the tweet when I put it in this chat. Just because, guys, moments like this, financial burden shouldn't be the thing that you should be worried about. I mean, I think that this is a time for grieving, and it's really important. Please, guys, whenever you have a chance, please go show some support. But this should be a very interesting finals. And what I want to trend is, I kind of want to transition out of the, into the next, portion of this, of this show, because we kind of, we stayed a lot of time on this, and I expected that. But for both teams, I wish the best of luck. Good luck to Wizards DG if they go back to back. That'd be awesome. Good luck to the Jazz. Splash you. I mean, he's almost had a perfect year in 2K. Obviously, he was a runner-up in the My Team tournament. He's in the finals of the 2K League. This guy's walking away with a pretty big bag this year. I will say, I got to give it to him, man. He's had a great year. But of course, you have guys like Lottie. Splash, Rhea, Compete, Lord Beezus, all those guys, even get on my level, and even Comp, man, congratulations to them being in the finals. Good luck to them. This should be a good finals. Is there any final thoughts you guys have on this finals preview? Anything you guys want to say about this before we move on to the next topic?
Nah, man, I think it's going to be a fun finals.
Yeah, it should be crazy. It can go either way.
Yeah.
I can't even say Jazz got it, the Wizards got it. It can literally go either way. It's gonna come down to adjustments, to be honest. Who's the better? What team makes the smarter adjustments? So head coach gonna come up a lot. Mm-hmm. So P. Cross and Comp gonna have to really come with it.
Yeah, but anyway, guys, we're gonna move on to the next portion, and that is about the whole expansion idea. So let me actually move this tweet so you can actually read it. So yesterday, Josiah kind of brought up, so there was a question, Josiah was just answering some questions. I'll try to zoom into this tweet a little better, but it was basically the idea of getting rid of expansion. I personally, and what I mean by that, it's not like getting rid of expansion teams. It's getting rid of the idea of the expansion draft right after the NBA2K League Finals. Oh crap, that's way too zoomed in. Hang on. Give me a second, guys. I want to make sure you guys can properly see this. But as I'm fixing that, I just want to ask you guys, I obviously there's many ideas countering this. Again, the idea that, you should be able to keep whoever you want before the expansion. It shouldn't be like I lose a player and stuff like that. Maybe the idea of, putting those teams in lotteries instead, in the lottery instead of just giving them a pick and stuff like that. There's a lot of ideas being thrown up in the air, but I kind of want to get your thoughts. Yay! I mean, you were part of a finals team that lost Nate. You know what I mean? You lost Nate after the finals. I mean, what was your guys' thoughts? Did you feel like that? This is kind of unfair. Why is our team getting basically gutted because we won a title? I feel like we're getting punished for winning a title. You know what I mean? That's kind of the perspective I think some people get. So, what are your thoughts on this idea? Should teams be allowed to hold as many players they want before the expansion?
I think the championship team to have the choice to keep their roster, just because that was the biggest thing that every team kind of goes through after they win. That we should have the ability to keep our team. But outside of that, I like the way they have it to where you can protect players. I think you should be able to protect 4 instead of 3 going into the expansion. Other than that, I don't have too many issues with it. Other than those 2 things, I think they can improve, but abolish it, no.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I definitely do agree that it sucks that you go to win a title and then you lose a player. Because we saw what would happen. We saw kind of what happened when the fact that the Wizards were able to keep Nudini. I mean, if there was, the whole situation kind of sucked because they lost Reese, but at the same time, they're still a title team. I mean, either way, even if they lost a player in the expansion draft, whether they lost Nudini or Reese, they still ended up as a title team this year. You know what I mean? And I just think that it's kind of I get it, but at the same time, what are the expansion teams supposed to draft from though? Yay! If we're getting the 5th and 6th best player on your roster, is that even worth me taking? Maybe some rosters I just feel that's kind of just I don't know, it kind of screws those expansion teams, though, at the same time. You might as well not even give me an expansion draft and give me more early draft picks. I'd rather have that than have, those 2 picks in expansion for the 5th and 6th best player on your roster. I kind of want to hear from you, JT, on this.
To be honest, I feel just if the league wants to grow, how the league needs to grow, the expansion draft, how it is, it has to change. Because as much as you say, oh, I don't want a team's fifth and sixth best player, like a team's fifth best player, a team's fourth best player, that margin is not always so big because it's always contingent on how a team drafts. Like one team's fifth best player could be better than another team's second best player. So it's just like how teams draft until teams don't miss, like the Lakers. None of those dudes are going in expansion. Their third best player isn't better than any of the like Jazz starting five, Wizards starting five. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like when you say, oh, don't keep teams together, but it's like in every other esport, that's kind of how it is. Like in COD, that's all you have. I mean, you have trades every now and then, but when you think of Scump, you think Optic. Like, you know what I'm saying? When you think of certain dudes, you think of brands or teams. So it's like, why break up teams and why punish teams when they're winning? And it all started with year one with the Blazers. They lost. They got punished for keeping. They couldn't keep shots because you can only protect two when they lost first round. Like, it's not like if you keep five teams, they're unbeatable. Like, everybody's beatable. It's 2K. Our skill gap as a game isn't high enough to where you have to break teams up. Like, leave teams how they want to make them. Like, if certain teams that don't make teams keep more than two, but if I feel like if a team wants to keep five, let them. Let them. It's a bunch of players in this community that are waiting for a shot that can do something. Nudini seasons 1 and 2, as I spoke on earlier, he wasn't nothing what he was now. He was decent. But on the Wizards, he's dominant. He's phenomenal. He's in his role thriving. So it's other players who are waiting to switch and be put in better places to actually thrive. I can speak on that coming from a player. Being in hard spots, being in easy spots. It's rough. So it's just like expansion draft, leave it how it is, except you should at least, like Ye said, be able to protect four. And then if you want to keep one more post, but it's like expansion draft, it's a whole pool coming. It's a whole pool of players coming in. Like, look at this year. All these young kids, like, they're the future. They're nice. So what do you don't need some that's already in the league when it's not guaranteed because you took them from a good team and put them on your team. It's not guaranteed that they're going to hoop on your team. Whole different system, whole new players, whole different environment. All of that matters. People think just because you do good one place, you'll do good in the next. No, that will never be how it works. So it's like, should it be abolished? No. But should teams keep getting punished like Jazz, like the Wizards? No. If teams want to keep who they have and they're good and they're winning, why not let them keep winning? Stop punishing good teams because they made great choices and applauding bad teams because they made the wrong choices and helping expansion teams because they joined late because they didn't believe early on. Stop helping the wrong people. Applaud the teams who keep winning, who are doing their job the right way instead of focusing on everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with both you guys. I think you guys have good points. I will say though, so if we are, let's say that we do that fourth player, what's it going to cost you? You know what I mean? Because we talk about like previous, like, will it cost you a first round pick? Because like, okay, we have to have a little balance here. Because let's think about it, they retain four and they still have a first round pick to go get a fifth player. It's like, damn, like me as an expansion team, it's gonna take a lot for me to get above those teams. And I get it, yes, like we shouldn't like overwhelmingly like give too much to expansion teams. I do understand that, but at the same time, like I need a little more than just like, okay, let's say that you gave me a top 6 pick, right? I got the 6 overall pick, and then what? Like if I didn't take those two players in expansion, what do I get? Do I just have individual rounds, 5th and 6th, and like that's it? You know what I mean? Like you have like as an expansion team, like there needs to be either you need to like if they're gonna retain a fourth player, then you better be taking away a first rounder from them if they're gonna be getting a fourth player on their roster. Is what like I just think they can still have whatever pick, whatever you want to give them, whether it's a third round or a second round, but like if they're gonna be able to keep their whole powerhouse roster, and I have to kind of like scrounge through again, I know you said some players on rosters it's the fifth and sixth best player. It could be the second best player on another roster. Yes, I agree, but at the same time, these are my building blocks. I'm trying to start my organization out with players. It's kind of hard to start out with a powerful most organizations. Let's think, what positions are they all going to keep? They're going to keep probably the shooting guard. They're probably going to keep a point guard, probably a lock, probably a center. Some might keep power forwards. It might be different for some teams, but for majority of it, a lot of it is going to be not the power forward position. So you're going to see a lot of power forwards available in expansion, and then a bunch of 6 men available in expansion. That's what it's going to be. Because last year, the most opened up position was either power forward or shooting guard. But I think some of the shooting guard jobs kind of got filled in this year. So it's going to be really rough. And then there's also going to be teams that are shopping players, right? I mean, there's some players in the offseason. I already talked about this with Ye. I mean, there's guys like Reg, I think, that are definitely an opportunity to be shots. But what am I But now I have less value on my expansion picks. There's nothing I can really use those for to trade for a player like Reg. What am I going to be able to because previously in expansion, teams like the Hornets, they traded away their picks to get more first rounds so they could trade for a bigger player. So it's definitely harder to work with. But if you're gonna do it, you got to make it a balanced system, though. If you're gonna hold 4 players, then you have to you can't have that team coming in with a first as well. That's a little too much for an expansion team to be going up against, in my opinion. But I mean, is there any thoughts on that, guys? What I just said, anything, popping in your head that you guys kind of want to counter that with?
I think it makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Because, but again, like I said, if you're gonna keep if you want to keep your your rosters and you want to keep winning, then yeah, you're gonna have to sacrifice a lot to do that. In order to do that, you basically got to sacrifice a lot, because I think that's the only fair way you can do it. To where at least okay, if you're taking away those first round picks, at least my expansion picks are moving up more in the draft. Then you know what I mean. Instead of me having a second round pick 29, now the fact that 5 or 6 teams just chose to get their 4th player back, now I'm moving up 5 or 6 picks in my second round. You know what I mean? So I don't have to worry about as many teams in front of me selecting. So I think that if you are going to do it, you got to take away their first. It's bottom line. But is there anything you want to say, JT? Because I feel like
it's tough. Only reason I say it's tough is because it's what team since before the Wizards made playoffs after winning it all? Nobody. Mm-hmm. So nobody winning a championship poses an imminent threat before the Wizards. So it's teams will take 1 year and they'll run with it and they'll fuck it up. They'll make the wrong calls. So it's you could take a first. I have no problem with that. Take the first, but it's just it comes down to a point to where that first round pick it still reaches. It's still people still miss. People still mess up. It's a lot of the better draft picks kind of leave the first round that actually make your team what it is. First round picks, they have the highest ceiling along with the lowest floor, because it's oh man, we drafted you first. You were supposed to do this. Then they'd be a damn bust.
Yeah.
But the later picks, it's oh, he played his role well. Mm-hmm. And that's really what a team comes into. Most teams come into a draft with their star players. They need their role players. They have their core. And then when it comes to expansion teams, you have to hit on every pick anyway. But at the same time, it's so much talent. If you miss, it's kind of on you. And that don't matter what pick you have, because like I said, people still do dumbass picks. Ohio went second round. Couple picks in. That's a dumbass pick.
Oh man.
But it happened. So it's oh, we're gonna take that pick away. No, that pick up other teams' draft, because of a damn reach. So it's and Big Rum said that those teams drastically changed. How did they drastically change though? By losing one player?
Mm-hmm. I don't think they did.
The Knicks, yeah, lost Nate, okay, but it's they're just losing one player. If one player that you didn't choose to keep really cost you what got you there, to me it sounds like you made the wrong fucking choice on who to keep.
Now, see, that one's a hot one right there. I like that one.
That's what it sounds like to me. If you keep 4 and you lost one of your starters, and you don't even make the offs, either your unit as a whole, that 4 you kept, weren't that good that season, or you just really made the wrong call. That's it.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like, if y'all want to keep 4, lose a first, that's fine. I just don't think like it'll help as much as we think it will.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, I do think that there needs to be some readjustments for expansion. But again, as an expansion team, like, if it's going to take me 2-3 years to build, like, I mean, that's going to take a lot. Like, it's going to take some really skilled people in head positions. Like, you can't, like, as an expansion team, if you draft a bust player, it's going to stick out more than any other org in the entire league, because your opportunity of success, I feel like, it's very hard. It's going to take a while to actually become a top organization. But I mean, again, when the T-Wolves came in and the Hornet, every time there's been an expansion team, at least one of them has made playoffs every year. So, you know, again, you had the T-Wolves who won the title. You had the Hornets who made the playoffs last year. Gen G has not ever made the playoffs. You know, that's kind of rough. But again, you know, obviously Lakers, like, you know, don't get me started on the Lakers. They haven't even won a single dollar. They have not won any. They've been getting straight base salary every year. If you go to the Lakers, you're getting base salary. But
I really thought that was a lie. I had to I had to think about it. I'm like, Russ, no way that team didn't make a bone.
Yeah, the Grizz actually
didn't make a single dollar.
Believe it or not, you know, the Grizz actually made money for the first time outside of that
this
money
year.
game. Yeah, because they made that $2,500 in a money game, but that's like, it was $2,500 in like a regular season money game. They never made any money in tournaments. So, like, again, I track all this stuff, and looking at the Grizz, like, the fact that they, like, this is a huge jump for them. The fact that they were finally able to actually win some money. I mean, actually, I have the updated numbers, but I haven't posted them. But looking at the updated numbers, it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that you can go that many years in the league and not win legitimate money, like. This year, I'll kind of give you guys a little spill of some teams on how much some teams made this year. The Sixers made $80,000 this year. The Blazers made $82,000.
Hey, Chad, let's wrap it up, bro.
Okay. I got you. All right.
My girl texting me and shit.
Okay.
Like, damn, how long you gonna be on the show?
Okay. Well, all right, we'll go to the last topic. What does it take to be an NBA 2K League coach? All right. This is, I feel like, a topic I think that's perfect for you two, because I think you both have experience like playing underneath the coach in the 2K League. And I need to ask you guys, you know, in your opinions, like, what do you guys think it takes to be an NBA 2K League coach? Like, obviously, you know, with you, you worked under Kyle Rudy. Obviously, JT, with you kind of worked, you know, you were under multiple teams. So you got to be under Coach DeJuan. You got to be under. Was P Cross there back? Yeah, he was. P Cross was there. You've had a lot of coaches in the league. So I want to start. I want to ask you, JT, when it comes to coaches, you know, what do you think it takes to really be a coach in this league? You know what I mean? Like, that's just my question to you.
For me to be a coach in this league, one, you need the respect of your players, which I'm not going to put no names out there, but some coaches don't have. You need just a group that believes in you and what your system is, what you preach. But you also, to me, have to know the game. Like, once you have that respect, you have to know the game and actually know how to help your team. Because it is some coaches that just coach, you know, like, or try to coach. Don't have much to say. Don't have is it good at adjustments, game plans. P Cross, he is that. Like he's shown that. That's why the Wizards have gone back to back. Like with the final appearances, like us in years 1 and 2, we had mishaps with our picks, and then you had, of course, my poor play in season 2. But it's just like, to be a coach outside of respect, you just need to know the game. You need to be good at adjustments. You need to know how to fix every problem. You need plays. Like, you need more than just a good team. You have to know what to do with that good team.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, there's a lot of things as a coach that I probably don't understand as an outside perspective, because I have never been a player. I've never had to manage 6 personalities. I mean, it's a lot, you know, and it's more than just, like, I feel like from my perspective, just kind of giving you guys my intake, I feel like it's obviously knowing the game. It's being able to mold these people outside of the game, though, too. Being able to get these personalities to work together. Being able to, you know, actually live together and conversate with each other and not be like this isolated situation, because there was a lot of situations. Like from what I hear from the Lakers, none of the Lakers players talk to each other outside of 2K. You know what I mean? They didn't talk. They didn't hang out with each other. They didn't speak with each other. Like that's kind of what I kind of got from that. And there was a disconnect there. And I feel like as a coach, your job is to try to do in any way to keep that team together. And I get it; they sucked. You know what I mean? When you're that bad, I mean, what's there to say? You know what I mean? But at the same time, I do feel like that you do have to bond them a little better. But also, as a coach, some have that power to strengthen, to kind of pick their roster. So part of your job too is to put the proper personalities together too as well. But I kind of want to hear from you now, Ye, because you had Kyle Rudy.
One thing, I think to piggyback from what JT was saying, I think the respect is definitely big. When you're like a coach or GM, I think a huge factor that goes into it is not being condescending, not like seeming like you're a better person just because you're the coach and try to act like you're talking down to them. Like meeting them at their level, being transparent. You never want to lie to these guys. You don't have to tell them the truth in terms of like they might not like it, but like being transparent with them, like this is just how it is. I think that's one thing that Kyle Rudy was always good at. He never sugarcoated anything. He told us the truth. He was straight up with every single one of us all the time. Another thing is being good at the game, or I wouldn't say being good at the game, but understanding how it works, like animations and knowing what to do on the offensive end, defensive end, of course, and being able to relate to the players in the real world too as well. I think Breadwinner was one of the somebody said having babysitting skills. I thought was funny, but some of these guys are 18, 19 and didn't go to college, and this is the first time they're being away from home, and being able to relate to them in terms of like the real world aspect is a huge thing for them. That way they feel like they can come to you. There's an open door policy. You feel like you can talk to them about things going off outside of the court that could help them in their real life and help mold them as young men and women, and better them for the future. And then at the same time help them on the sticks too as well. So that's my intake.
You're on mute, champ.
Damn it. Okay. Do you guys ever feel like there's been situations in the league where coaches are just too much? Like they're putting too much detail onto certain like plays, situations. Like there's things that don't need to be said. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to coaching. Like, did you guys ever kind of feel that feeling like at times, or have you ever witnessed that where you felt like is there such thing as too much coaching in the 2K league? Like, and I maybe I'm trying to put it in a better context, but like what I mean is like, okay, you missed the rebound. You know what I mean? Like, and the coach is like, oh yeah, you got to box out better. You know what you got to do. You know what I mean? Like, as a player what you got to do. And like sometimes when like coaches try to put that corrective action on you, it can actually counteract. Like, it can actually make players in a way kind of like get mad at their coach, or like, and again, that's part of part of coaching, right? You're gonna get yelled at, by your players sometimes for telling them to do things. But like, do you guys ever feel like you can overcoach in the 2K league and do too much to where it can hurt the team?
I think that's why it's so important to have like a coach on the floor, because you don't want to micromanage in some aspects. I think it's good what White Kite does. He kind of he'll coach in games to kind of like get you in the right headspace. But a lot in scrims, he'll take a few minutes in between scrims to like go over what they need to work on and review like what kind of happened. I think that's always very important to kind of be in someone's ear all the time. It really depends on how the players like to be coached too. So it definitely varies, but it's always great to have a player coach on the floor, like guy like Bear the Beast, where Nick doesn't have to do a ton of talking. You might have to say some stuff here and there, just like for adjustment's sake. Like that's what timeouts are for too as well. But like when the game is actually going on, I think it's good to just let players do their own thing. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like when you're really a good coach, in my opinion, like you kind of know. You have every player in their expectations, and you sat them down one-on-one, and you tell them what you expect out of them. Like, it's like, say, my power forward's not boxing out. I could just call his name, be like, hey, Crown. And like, you'll know. I don't have to say nothing else. You'll just know what the hell I'm talking about. And it's like, that's what comes in the coaching too, is having that kind of relationship with your player, to where you know how to get through to them. You know how to get the best out of them. So overcoaching, it is possible, but at the same time, if you're locked in and trying to win as everybody else, it shouldn't be a point to where, oh, he's in my ear too much. If he's talking to you that much, clearly you're not doing something right. Do your job, he gonna shut the fuck up. So I mean, it's not really a thing to where it's like, oh damn, bro, he keep talking to me. Why? What you doing wrong? Yo, coach, you gonna be in your ear when you greening all these damn shots? No. He gonna be in your ear when you doing a bunch of weak side boards? No. Clearly, if he's talking to you, unless he's just some damn child, which I haven't came across yet, you're doing something wrong. So fix it. So it's like overcoaching is possible, but it's not really likely.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to, and this is kind of like the final portion of this. I want to ask about you guys 2 questions. So what do you guys think is truly the qualifications to become a coach? If you've never had any experience in this league, right? Like you're not again, I think former players are some of the best choices for coaches coming into the league. Any former player, I think, is a great option just because they have experience of being on a roster. I think they understand the game very well. I think the players can respect them too because they know what they're talking about. I think it's just maybe for some it might be the basketball aspect of things. Like I know that some people kind of overplay the idea yes, basketball understanding basketball does matter when it comes to coaching, but I don't think it's the overwhelmingly it's not if you it's overwhelmingly matters when it comes to coaching the 2K league because there's a lot of basketball things that just don't work in the league and that's a known fact. But what do you guys think is kind of if you were to mold a coach outside the league, what do you think? If you were hiring a coach, what do you think they need to have coming in? And I'll start with you, JT.
It has to be knowledge of the game because, like you said, real life basketball is not 2K. All them plays that the NBA runs, it's not working in 2K. You have to make it way more simple. Spacing is not the same. It's just everything's different. So it's you can have a player outside that knows real basketball, but if you just know real basketball but not 2K or 2K at the bare minimum, you won't be able to coach how you need to because a coach is supposed to bring the best out of you. How can you bring the best out of somebody and make somebody better if you don't even know what is good in the game itself? If you don't know the product, how you going to teach anybody anything? So it's you could bring in like Frankie said, a G League coach or things of those sorts, but those dudes learned the game. They didn't at first when they came in, but they learned the game. So if you don't know the game, that's step 1. Teach these dudes the game because if you don't, it's a failed mission from the gate.
Mm-hmm. And I think though to the Warriors, I think those guys would probably help them a lot, teaching those guys the game too. The players help the coaches in a way. You know what I mean? To understand the game, so then the coaches can kind of implement their knowledge of the sport of basketball into 2K. So I think that those players like Keena probably was a big help in that too. So I don't think that as much as I want to say go out there and hire G League coaches, but you have to realize you do have to. It's going to take some time to really get get that guy acclimated and ready. When some teams just want to win now and they don't want to wait to win. You know what I mean? But yeah, I kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
You said the question was, how do you bring a G League guy in, and how do you?
The question is so if you were to mold a coach into the 2K league, right? You're bringing an outside guy, what do they need? What if you're hiring a coach for the 2K league? What are their requirements? Because JT kind of touched on the idea you need to know 2K. Do you need a basketball background? That's kind of what I want to know. Do you need a basketball background to be an NBA 2K league coach?
I don't think you absolutely need a basketball background to be a league coach, but definitely knowing the game is a huge factor. If you're one of those guys that played it for a while, understand how the metas work and understand what works and what doesn't, I mean, that's definitely the fundamental thing you need in order to be able to coach the game. Another thing I feel like you'll need to be able to do is just relate to the players and understand where they're coming from. Like somebody said in one of the comments was, no 2 people on the 6-man roster have come from the same background. So other than expose them and his brother, I think that's the only the only exception to the rule. But like being able to relate to people, whether it be on the court and how to manage personalities, and be able to talk to people outside of the court and how to like relate to these guys and growing as individuals. But I mean, those are the two main things. But it all starts with knowing the game.
Yeah, but I need to ask you. Do you guys believe will you guys ever want to be NBA 2K League coaches? And this is specifically for you two. Like, I mean, I'll ask you first, Yay, since you're already, would you, do you want to be an NBA 2K League coach one day?
Absolutely, I would love to.
Mm-hmm. So, what would make you qualify? Like, so if you want to be a coach, what would make you qualified to be a 2K League coach?
I think the one thing with me, like coming from a championship background, I think is always, it gives me like the slight nudge in my favor. And being able to be a player in the league in general, and dealing with the personalities that I've dealt with, and I've dealt with guys from all sides of the spectrum. So like, get with somebody with Kofi and like being able to talk to him, and guys like Idris. Same thing with being able to like kick it with guys like Kuda, Malik, and Nate, like all different types of fellas alike, and they always came to my room. I always had an open door policy, whether I liked it or not, where they come in and we'll talk about life or talk about the game, and I'd be able to relate to each one and every one of them in some way, shape, or form. Same thing with Rudy. And in terms of like being able to deal with the organization, I come from a business background, marketing background, to like where I can help the players in terms of like building their brand outside of actually playing the game. So I think that's also important too, but that's a discussion for a different day.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the game. I still play the game, of course, and I feel like my communication skills have continued to improve, and being able to talk to these guys on how to get better at each position, and being able to manage the personalities that I would have on the roster, and help the team improve. But I can come out with a list of stuff on what I believe and what my mantra will be and all that stuff, but that's for a different day.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, JT? Would you want to be an NBA 2K League coach?
Whew. Man, it's tough. I feel like I enjoy playing so much. I don't know if coaching will be the same. That's kind of what I thought season 4 would be for me. I thought I would come back as the Pistons 6-man, and I would more so take that assistant coach role and kind of actually just kind of like step in and like coach for the most part, because like I know that team or the people, like it's just like I wanted to see how I would feel to actually coach, but it's like watching them on stage, I missed that. I missed that. And my last time on stage that season was terrible. It was my worst one by far, which was 2. So it's like I miss that just passionate playing. I even see it when I'm playing. Like, they'll tell you I'm in team up leagues now, and I'm just screaming at my teammates. Like, but it's fun. I miss that competing. So to just like coach and not actually be on the court, it's tough. But if I would, it would have to be in the next like 2 years. That would have to be it, because it's just like at some point I do want to be a psychiatrist. So it's like I can't sit in this gaming field forever. So it's just like I want to play for a couple more years and then kind of move on to that.
Hey man, I feel it. I personally think that both of you guys would be great coaches. I mean, I think that you both offer different things to you. I mean, I think JT, when it comes to your life experiences, I think that you can reach a lot of these players on a deeper level. And it really depends what type of players you have on your roster. Because, like I said, you have life experiences that I know you've shared with me at times, and I'm sure that there's a lot of things I don't know about you. But I think that you can really relate to some of these players, especially guys that are in situations and they're trying to get out of a certain situation to go to and go for this league. I think that you can kind of be like that mentor to a lot of these younger guys, and I think that you can really help them. And then, I think that for you, I think that you're one of those guys that I feel like you bring a very you're very, very positive. I think that like a lot more, a lot of players are very open to, talking with you. You feel like one of the, they feel like you're just one of the guys. You know what I mean? Like, they respect you. I think that you're both respected, in my opinion, when it comes to just being as coaches. I think that, moving forward, I would love at one point to see you guys both be coaches. But, I have one last question, and I promise we'll be done. Who do you guys think is the coach of the year?
I'll have to go with Cody. I'm sticking with my answer from the beginning.
What about you, JT?
Yeah, I feel like I have to go Cody. That team went from what, bottom 4 in the league, now they're top 3 in the league. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
did his thing.
I think it's unanimous. I agree with Cody. A guy going from the bottom team to the top. I think that's just, he's shown that, a lot of progression for that organization. But anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody on the stream. I appreciate Ye. I appreciate JT. Thank you so much for coming on the broadcast. We ran further because of the playoff, all that playoff recap stuff. It took a long ass time, but you know what? It's been fun in the stream. Again, thank you, JT, for coming on. Thank you, Ye, for coming on. I hope to have you guys maybe down the line, of course. Keep doing your thing, keep enjoying LA, out there in California, JT. Yay, listen, man, stay safe out here on these streets with these lists, man. I don't know what's going on. They coming for your neck. But anyway, guys, that's everything we have for episode 7. I appreciate you guys. Outside the Sticks and ESGN signing out.